Welcome to BizFlow University's online courseware. In this module, I'm going to do a brief introduction to BPM, or Business Process Management. Doing more with less is not enough. I need you to do everything with nothing. I venture to guess that most people can relate to this cartoon in your day-to-day jobs, where whether you're in a commercial business or a government agency, we're constantly forced to bring products to market faster, service our customers better, produce better quality work with less and less resources. And so business process management is a way to help us be more efficient and more productive and basically alleviate some of this pain. Before I can define what business process management is, I want to spend just a moment on what a business process is. In every organization, we have business processes, which really are the tasks and activities that we perform, and we being either the departments or individuals involved in that process, and the business systems that we use in order to get work done, whether that's processing an order from receipt to fulfillment, or that's processing an expense report from the time I submit it to the time it gets paid, or onboarding an employee, and so forth and so on. These are the processes that basically make businesses function and run, and how we service customers and constituents. One way to also kind of define business process a bit more granularly or more formally is to follow a business process framework. The APQC, or American Productivity and Quality Center, produces PDF documents which provide process frameworks for every industry. So you can become a member, go to their website, become a member, and download these documents, and they're in the structure that you see on the screen. So they define kind of the major categories of process. For example, develop and manage human capital, pretty much known as HR or human resource processes. And from those major categories, they then break them down into lower level processes, and then all the way down to the tasks that are performed within those processes. So again, if we use developing and managing human capital as an example, we would see within that major processes like recruiting and onboarding, benefits management, performance management, and exit processes. And within those processes, if we were to drill into those processes, we would then see the specific tasks and activities at the workflow or procedural level that we perform. So when we talk about process and process frameworks, this is really what we're talking about, and this is a more formalized way to define processes within an organization. And very typical to most businesses is kind of process chaos. For many organizations, processes are not well understood and or well documented. Many organizations, Mary Jane has been processing the claims or processing the appeals or processing the orders for any length of time and just simply knows how to get it done. As a result of that, and other issues associated with business processes, organizations lack visibility into where something is. So someone calls to find out about their order or their claim or whatever it is, and people aren't exactly sure what the state of that particular item is. Information gets lost, requests get lost, people duplicate one another's efforts. We make mistakes because maybe we're keying information into multiple business systems for the same item or the same work item. We also have compliance and policy problems where if people don't adhere to a certain policy, that then in turn creates compliance issues. It takes a long time to process something, longer than might be necessary, again because it's not clearly understood who needs to do what and in what order. We also don't have good measurements for processes or good metrics, and as a result we can't measure ourselves against them and then look for ways to improve them. And all of this kind of boils down to impacting the business's bottom line, your ability to deliver high quality services, keeping your costs down, keeping employees and customers satisfied, all stems from not having good processes in place, and by putting good processes in place, we can improve all of those types of things. That then leads us to business process management and what business process management really is. Business process management is a convergence of three things: strategy, methodology, and technology. BPM originated as a management strategy or a philosophy. That's really where its origins come from. In that, by understanding an organization's business processes, by identifying and focusing on those that deliver value to the customer, and through measuring and controlling processes, an organization can not only be more efficient and more effective, but be able to adapt more readily to changing market conditions and business demands. So it originated really as a way to manage a business through better process control and process understanding. You can therefore better manage the business and be a more innovative and effective business. That strategy gave birth, or the emergence of the BPM methodology came into being. And that methodology revolves around how you institute this strategy for a given process. Looking at a single or individual process, what are the phases, activities, and steps that you go through then at a more tactical level to implement this type of strategy? BPM does have its own defined methodology called DMEMO, that's the acronym, and I'm going to talk more about that in another video. But similar to DMAIC, which is a Six Sigma methodology, or Lean, which is another type of process improvement methodology, BPM has its own method, its own set of phases and activities. But what BPM lacks or lacked in its original form was some of the more specific tools to do process improvement. When you look at designing a new process versus improving the state of an existing process, the BPM methodology didn't provide some of those much more tactical tools that you find in these other methodologies, like the voice of the customer or SIPOC maps or value streaming. These are found in other types of business process improvement methodologies. So a lot of times companies will incorporate those types of tools or methods as part of their BPM strategy, again, to kind of close the gaps on the process improvement tools that were lacking in the business process management methodology. And then the third component of this convergence is technology. And technology, of course, is generally born out of the need to help solve or institute business strategies or business processes. So BPM technology emerged after the emergence of business process management as a strategy to help companies use technology to institute this strategy and this methodology. What I want to do is just take a moment to talk about the evolution then of business process management systems. At the kernel or core of a business process management system is workflow. And workflow systems really originated in the later 90s to help companies route and move work based on business rules. And using a very simple analogy, let's say I want to process an expense report, and I fill that expense report out, and it goes to a workflow engine, which in turn routes it to the inbox of a manager to approve it. And once that manager completes it, it then routes it to a finance department to pay it. However, if the manager decided to reject that item, it would put it back into the inbox of the originator. So very basic workflow is at the core of business process management software or systems. The items that you see in black are really part of the original business process management systems. In the early 2000s, BizFlow, along with a number of other products, emerged in the market as business process management systems. And again, they emerged as a result of the BPM management strategy and methodology to help companies institute those strategies and methods. What you see then is things like process flow mapping, so that people can flow out the steps of a process so you can visualize a process and communicate it. Electronic forms, support for lightweight business system integration, support for a work queue or a work portal. The work has to go somewhere that someone's going to interact with. And then monitoring and reporting. And these are part of the core business process management systems. From there, you can look at each one of these rays. For example, if we look at the process flow mapping ray, it then continued to emerge, or to continue to expand, I should say. So as companies started to then create flow diagrams for their processes, they wanted to be able to do things like analyze those processes, create a repository where they could store them and search on them, be able to simulate and run simulations and what if analysis. If we change this many resources, how could our process then be improved? And online collaboration and so forth and so on. Business process management tools of the early 2000s continued to expand to become business process management suites, and then continue to expand to what is today considered intelligent business process management suites. And so you can see they're made up of a lot of technology and a lot of capabilities, but very practical, because each one of these areas has a logical extension in terms of how it would expand and continue to evolve. In summary, what I really want to do here is just kind of summarize then a holistic view of enterprise business process management. When a company is going to embark on a holistic strategy, the first step in that strategy is really process understanding. So establishing or aligning business processes to a framework, to ensuring that everyone in the organization understands what those processes are, that processes are documented and well understood, and that there's some centralization and transparency into processes. And then the second layer down in the funnel would be to then look at ways to continuously improve processes. And here's where we see the introduction of things like business process improvement methods and methodologies, where we define processes as they exist today. We analyze those processes. We look for ways to establish to-be processes, or what's going to be the way we're going to perform this process in the future in a more optimal way. And then candidates fall out of that are then well suited for business process management systems or automation, where we can then further optimize and control and manage those processes through the implementation of technology. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about aligning the BPM methodology with the tools of a business process management system.